With Dragon Ball Sparking Zero and Bleach Soul Resonance, I think it's called, coming out later this year and probably next year for Bleach. We have this new era of arena anime fighters coming back. A lot of people dubbing it the golden era or the platinum era because we technically did go through a golden era with the Naruto Storm series and the Budokai Tenkaichi series originally. And so we're kind of going back to form and going back to the roots of how arena fighters were. And I kind of just want to talk because there's a lot of people who are talking about switching up and going from anime arena fighters are the death of some series getting games and how they just all turn out bad. And now there's this, sudden switch up when Dragon Ball gets one that it's finally we're getting the arena fighter we deserve. And I kind of just want to talk about it with a couple people because no, essentially. And it's for, I want to say, two main reasons that I can essentially put into one big reason. And the big reason is essentially greed. And the two reasons that it breaks down into is creative restriction and money grabs. Because let's talk about it. Bandai, the same people who are going to give us Sparking Zero, are very money hungry and opportunistic, I guess is the word we can use. Because if there is a popular anime and it has any sort of fighting, Demon Slayer and One Punch Man are going to be big topics here. They're going to probably make some sort of arena fighter. And just don't think because I said those two games, there's nothing else we're going to talk about here. And a big problem when they make these is they try to make them quick and they try to make them efficiently. And so what that means is they're going to pump something out very quick and very simple. And they're going to pump something out that has the ability to make money then and later. So what that means is something to grab you when it releases and DLC. Why is this the third finger? I don't know why. Don't ask me. So the big way they do that is things like in the big culprit. The big culprit for us right now is Jujutsu Kaisen Curse Clash. This could have been a very cool, a very fun arena fighter, especially the way they centered around the main gimmick for this fighter being domain expansions. This was going to be a way to change the terrain, change the fight, change the flow, the momentum. It's going to change everything about the fight. No matter what was going on, things were going to get flipped when this happened. But the game sucked. And the game sucked because they tried to focus on this one thing and make it the whole thing. This is not the only game they've done that. I'm looking at you, One Punch Man. That's another one we need to talk about later. But Jujutsu Kaisen did this thing where they just kind of do what a lot of arena fighters do. And Dragon Ball is not, the outlier, the golden child to this, because they are guilty of doing this too. But but Jujutsu Kaisen did this thing of recycled attacks and animations, just like a lot of other games do. And it kind of ruins a lot of characters. So the big thing they worry about in this game is the flashiness, the big grand stage of these things. They worried about how the domain expansions looked, and they worried about how ultimate moves looked. They had to make sure Hollow Purple looked good. They had to make sure Infinite Void, Malevolent Shrine, they had to make sure everything like that looked good. They had to make sure all the characters in their intros and their costumes, they look good. The in-between boring part of the fight could just look like what it needed to look like. Just punches and kicks and throws, just anything like that. And that's kind of where the game gets hurt a little bit, and that's where a majority of these games do get hurt. To the next game we have to talk about is One Punch Man. One Punch Man was the first console One Punch Man game we were getting. It had some mobile games, which mobile games are a whole different topic that are just an insane vacuum of money that we can talk about later. But One Punch Man was coming and people were excited because they showed Boris, I think his name was, Saitama, Genos. The trailer looked good for the fighting, but then there was one big outlier. The whole gimmick of the show is Saitama is character who can beat anybody in one punch. So the way they worked around that and they made their gimmick for that game, and that's gonna be that's the buzzword, is the gimmick for One Punch Man was wait a certain amount of time and turn into Saitama. Once you turn into Saitama, game over. So it really just turned into kind of this like block simulator or panic simulator for depending on what side you were. And that's all you did for, I think the rounds were like 3 minutes. You had to either survive or fight. And to basically just beat the clock or just outlast the opponent until you can get to that golden buzzer to turn into Saitama and finally win. And it kind of ruins a lot for the fighting aspect of that game. And that's one of the reasons it died so fast. There's also just the thing of a lot of these characters didn't really do much aside from their big power, because let's face it, Moomin Rider, I forget the ninjas guys' names, and even a little bit of Boros, because Boros, his big thing was he had a laser. But a lot of these other guys were just punches and kicks and weapons, just like that. Metal Bat, come on, that one's kind of a little obvious. And that's kind of where anime arena fighters do lose their sauce. And it's not their fault, I want to say, because a lot of these studios, I am sure a lot of these studios go in and they're very excited to make these games. You know, they're very big fans of One Punch Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero. You're not out of this conversation either. One's Justice is okay at best. But I'm sure they're excited to finally get to make, games for these kind of series. I'm sure there's plenty of fans in the studio when they make these, but the creative restriction that they are placed on when they announce that they're making these games, or when they get into the studio to make these games, is probably cut by more than a tenth. There's probably so much these people want to do with these games that they are just not allowed to do. And that's the big problem with a lot of these arena fighters. I'm sure they could have made Jujutsu Kaisen look amazing. I'm sure if they gave it like the Cyberpunk treatment where they just did a fat update. Just a fat update where it looked like a re-release of the game. And they just worked on everything in there. It could be one of the best arena fighters out there. You could honestly say that for so many games. Demon Slayer, I think, is okay. I think the Demon Slayer Arena Fighter is okay. I just think there's some things they could have changed. It went with the Storm variation, which, if we're going to talk about legendary arena fighters, we're talking about the Budokai Tenkaichi series, and we're talking about Naruto Storm. The underdog in this we can talk about are the Gundam games. A lot of people don't talk about the Gundam arena fighters. Those are some of the most slept on arena fighters in there. Have you guys played Gundam Versus? That is one of the best 2v2 fighters you can play. And it's gone. I don't know if the servers are like completely down, but I know not a lot of people, next to no one, are playing it. Those three series right there are the best arena fighters you're going to get. And it is what it is basically what you can say at the end of the day. One Piece probably could be good, but guess what? They stick to the Dynasty Warriors formula for whatever reason. They tried some new stuff with the turn-based style in Odyssey, different story. Going back to the arena fighters, but the reason why creativity is super cut off in these games is for the second reason altogether, which is just the money grab. It is just to hype itself up off the series itself. They take the popular series, they take the My Hero, they take the Demon Slayer, they take the One Punch Man, and at a time where it is very popular, but the anime is not produced at the time, they will put these games out. And it is to buy time for the anime. It is to cash grab a little bit something more from the audience that they can. And it's just a quick buck for Bandai is what is the main purpose here. And it kind of sucks because these kind of games are like things we can really enjoy, but they just throw it out there. It's kind of just like, it's from like making a fine steak, just like really taking your time, seasoning it, prepping it, cooking it, letting it sit, making this beautiful steak, to just throwing out burgers. And they're big, fat, nothing burgers. And that's so, it feels so bad to say that when they're nothing burgers because you know that they can be something good. Look at Jump Force. Jump Force should have been something amazing. But Jump Force was just a money grab for, I think it was the 50? I think it was the 50-year Shonen Jump anniversary. But it could have been so big. It could have, but they just threw it out there. That's really all they do. They don't serve it to you. They just throw it. That's the best way I could put it. These games are thrown at us like they're nothing instead of served, and it's exactly what Naruto, Dragon Ball, and Gundam are trying to do for us. And to go back on the reusing and recycling thing, because the biggest meme for these Dragon Ball games, especially Xenoverse 2, is the full power energy beam. Just the basic run-of-the-mill ki blast move that 90 to 99% of characters are going to have. Jiren will have one. One of the Vegetas will probably have one. It's stuff like that. That's where people start seeing the big nothing burger that they want Budokai Tenkaichi to be, because so many of these characters have it. And that's because those are the filler moves for when they put in the big flashy moves. Like Jiren in this case, he's going to have the full power energy wave because they probably put most of Jiren's animations into, I think it's called like the Megaton Overdrive thing. The like big wave he does and blast. I think they're gonna put a lot of effort into that, and they also put a lot of effort into the environment. If you look, Demon Slayer is just very much the big circular area with nothing in it. My Hero is kind of the same, but sometimes they'll do buildings, sometimes they'll do rooms. Naruto is not out of this question too, because they also just do the big circular arenas. And in Sparking Zero's case, and in older ones like Budokai Tenkaichi 3 and Raging Blast, they did full cities or full mountainscapes with destructible environments. In Sparking Zero, they're going further and letting you go inside the buildings, and then destruction of the buildings while being inside them. Stuff like that. And they're adding the flair and the extra, just goodness in the game that is the punching and kicking, because what they understand when making Dragon Ball games is that the punching and kicking is a big part of it. Yes, there are the flashy moves like the Kamehameha, the Spirit Bombs, the Big Bang attacks, and, things like that. But when they do those in between, you have to add the cool things like the punching and kicking, the dodging, weaving mechanics that will be, a majority of the game. Over 90% of the actual fight is going to be those combos. And to do that, they have to put care into the game. And to put care into the game means to actually take your time on the game. And to take your time on the game means to have the creativeness for the game. So what I'm trying to say is, I think they're taking more time in Dragon Ball than they are with these other arena fighters, because they know what Dragon Ball is. And they know for a fact that Dragon Ball is going to be this cash cow for them. And that's why they are going to put more effort into this than the Jump Force games, than the My Hero games, than the other anime games that are not Dragon Ball, not Naruto. Because the way the Dragon Ball games will sell no matter what tells them that they can do what they want with this game. They can have creative freedoms with this game. That's why Dragon Ball has so many variety of games, just because of how big of a series it is and how much of a guaranteed hit most of these games are going to be. Me personally, I didn't like Dragon Ball Breakers, but it sold. Dragon Ball Breakers sold. If you don't like the game or not, if you don't like the Dead by Daylight style, that game sold. There's still players now, even though a majority of things you'll see online are negative things about Breakers. It sold. And that just told them they can really make anything. But with the online discourse, how things are now, they probably saw a lot of the negativity that Breakers got and moved on to something else. Who knows how many Dragon Ball games are in the vault that we don't know about? There could be, just like Demon Slayer, There's probably a Dragon Ball Mario Party happening somewhere. There's probably a Dragon Ball Mario Kart somewhere. They have games in the vault. You know they do. But to be able to get back to the roots of Dragon Ball Arena Fighters, to kind of come back and show that Bandai and Spike can make good arena games and show that anime arena fighters can be good, is going to do us a lot of justice for the future of anime games. I think once Sparking Zero comes out, and hopefully if Bleach is good, I know I've only been talking about Dragon Ball here, but that's kind of the big discussion topic for these people talking about the switch up on arena fighters. Dragon Ball is a blueprint. They have always been a blueprint in gaming, in anime. It's just something that is always going to be compared to. If you're going to compare an arena fighter, it's probably going to get compared to two games: Naruto Storm, Budokai Tenkaichi. Those are the biggest arena fighters we've ever had in our anime gaming lifetime, and they are the blueprints to what we do for these games. If we're going big and flashy, we're probably going to look at it and compare it to Budokai Tenkaichi. If they're trying to go technical and like a little bit more competitive, they're going to probably look at Storm. Naruto Storm did so many good things for making an arena fighter semi-competitive, for how well these team balancing and combo balancing was, that they renewed a whole game so they can try to make the online better. Did it work? Up to you. But that's what they did. So now Dragon Ball has to come back and show you that an anime arena fighter can still be good. And the more I talk about it, the more it seems like they're trying to get back in our good graces to make us buy more arena fighters. But it's gonna fuel the fire more to make more. And this is a benchmark that we're gonna see and recreate, because the benchmark before was a PS2 game. The benchmark now is gonna be a PS5 game. So all I'm saying is, we've been fed nothing burgers for a long time, and now that we're finally getting a top tier steak, the people are starting to complain again. The people are starting to complain, and they want the nothing burger back. But we just need to let Dragon Ball cook again. That's all I'm saying. We just need Dragon Ball to cook again. Let me know what you guys think about arena fighters. Let me know what you guys think about the state of arena fighters that we are in right now, the state of anime games in general. But I will catch you guys in the next video.